Well, when I was watching it, of course, I couldn't help but ask myself this question, as I think many of the people that watched it did, is like, can you do what he did and be a sweetheart? We have these other examples, you being one of them. Steve Jobs now, he's become one. Do you think you can do what he did, what Jobs did, what you've done, and be a sweetheart?
Well, maybe not. I mean, I certainly wasn't a sweetheart when I ran Microsoft. And what it is if you push yourself super, super hard and you're so tough on when you made a mistake and you better wake up to that mistake, you definitely project that onto other people, particularly if you're trying to move at full speed. And in the business I was in, every day counted. We had to see what we were doing wrong. And so we said, hey, this is not for everyone to sit here and work these hours and be as tough on each other. The reason you're here is because you're amazing. So don't get confused when we're being kind of tough. We're a team, we're in this together. And, you know, every once in a while, we may have been tougher than we needed to be. I was not as tough as Steve. And I love the Jordan thing, which I think you could say for Steve or myself, which is I never asked them to work any harder or be tougher on their mistakes than I was on myself. It doesn't completely forgive it, but at least it shows where you're coming from, that you're projecting your own values and trying to get everybody to be kind of hardcore like you are. And if they're not, fine, there's another place for them to, you know, another basketball team or another sport for them to go hang out in.
Well, that is ultimately where I'll be kind of, you know, libertarian or something in that viewpoint where I'll go like, look, no one begged you to come do this. This isn't conscription. So part of me does go like, if you don't dig it, man, go somewhere else.
Now that I'm older, I do think I'm more subtle in terms of motivating people without having to push as hard. I mean, I was in my 20s, so I'm a little better at that.
So don't you think it maybe reflects how much you kick your own ass? Is that lightened up over time?
Yeah, because you become a little wiser. When you have a great spouse and kids, your breadth of, oh my God, if I don't succeed at this, it's everything. And so it's not quite as extreme. You know, in my 20s, all I did was try and make Microsoft succeed. That was it.
Yeah.
Not weekends, not vacations, not broad reading. And I loved it. My competitors were always pissed off about how much harder core I was than they were. So that was like a tribute in my book.
You used some great word where you came to like that you were there 24/7.
Yeah, that was the ethos for that period of time.
Do you think Jobs deserves this deity status?
Jobs was a genius. What he did, particularly when he came back to Apple. I mean, yes, he did a brilliant job founding Apple. He did some interesting stuff at Next, but it didn't succeed. But when he comes back to Apple, all the things that have worked and not worked for him, and his ability to pick people, his taste in people, even for skill sets that he didn't have himself. You know, he didn't write code, but he picked amazing people for manufacturing. That what he did at Apple during that 10-year period, it's truly phenomenal. And there's no chance in hell it happens without him. I mean, Apple was on its way to die, and they actually were negotiating to buy a different company than Steve's. That guy, Jean-Louis Gasset, asked for a little too much money, so they went to Steve as their backup plan.
Wow.
And then Steve walks in and says, okay, this time I think I know what to do. So that period between when he goes back to Apple and when he sadly dies quite young, no one else can do what he did there.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that. I don't know anyone who could have. So he belongs in the pantheon, even though he was at times one tough person.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say he's like, he's as much in the Walt Disney camp, maybe, on that Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely. To recognize things in a new place that there really was no model for. I mean, he was such a wizard at over-motivating people. I was a minor wizard, so I couldn't fall under his spells, but I could see him casting the spells.
Yeah.
And then I would look at people and see them mesmerized, and I would say, no. But
You were like second year
great.
Hogwarts, and he was graduated.
I was so jealous.
Oh, good.